Then we say, give us this day our daily bread. And first of all, we want to think of the words, this day. This day. Our Lord's teaching us, as he said in another place in the gospel, don't worry about tomorrow. Sufficient for the day is the evil thereof. Let tomorrow take care of itself. Just for today, I pray. Give us this day our daily bread. But don't get too wrapped up in the future. People worry way too much about things. They worry about what's going to happen in 10, 20, 30 years. Well, that's ridiculous. You don't even know if the world's going to exist. Why worry about it? Try to think that all I have to do is spend today as well as I can for God. Just for today. You know, the devil often tries to trip people up by making them think of the future. For instance, when a man leaves a habit of sin, let's say he's an alcoholic, and he says, I have to stop. I am going to quit drinking. I vow and swear to God I quit. Well, the devil gets in there and tells the man that he can't possibly do this, that it's unreasonable, that nobody can expect him to be sober and not to drink any alcohol for the next 30, 40 years. And this starts to work on the man. He starts to think about it, how difficult it's going to be. You see, he's bringing 30 and 40 years to weigh on himself all at once. And that's why our Lord is teaching us, don't worry about that. Just pray for today. And that's what St. Ignatius said, to defeat that temptation of the devil, you have to say, I don't have to be good for 30 or 40 years. All I have to do is to be good for today. Just for today. Give us this day our daily bread, what I need for today. So dwell on that petition, perhaps, of the Our Father. I've got to slow down. Most of you probably really need to hear that and to be reminded of that. And if you remind yourself of it every time you say the Our Father, what a great help it will be. I think in my years in the priesthood, this is perhaps one of the biggest faults of traditional Catholics, is they worry too much. I shouldn't say traditional Catholics, just people in general. Their biggest fault is they worry too much and they don't trust in God. And because they don't trust in God, they put too much pressure on themselves. And so they have heart problems and they high blood pressure and such. And really, if we just learn to rely on God and not worry about tomorrow, next week, next year, but just for today, things become much easier. We always have to be prudent, of course, and there are going to be decisions that will affect your future, but you try not to worry about them. You try to just rely on God and make the decision as best you can. What will be the best way for me to serve God? What would God want me to do? And then you make the decision based on that, and you live with it. You trust. God will take care of you. I hear so many people say things like, well, you know, my medical insurance, it's not going to cover me if this or that happens. I only have a certain amount of money that's going to come to me via Social Security or a pension. And they get all wrapped up in worrying about what's going to happen when they're 75, 80 years old. But I don't know, everything just seems to work out. We have to just remember that our Lord taught us that He will take care of us. Look at the birds of the air and the lilies of the field. They neither toil nor spin. And not even Solomon in all his glory was arrayed like one of these. If God so feeds the birds and clothes the grass, how much more you, O ye of little faith? Does he not love you more than those things, the birds and the flowers? Of course he does. Those things are mindless. They don't have an immortal soul. But you have an immortal soul. You are a child of God. And if he looks after the birds and the flowers of the field, of course he's going to look after his child. Just trust in God more and rely on him more. And try not to worry. Be prudent. Be prudent in what you do. Don't overindulge and don't overextend yourself. Of course not. But trust in God. Rely on him. And he will take care of you. And that's why he says, so he not only says, give us this day, but then he sort of repeats it by saying, our daily bread. We're not praying for next year, next month even. We're just praying for today. I truly believe this, and obviously we all believe it, but what I mean is that we all say we believe it, but we don't live like that. And we don't really think that God is going to provide for us. But I know he will. Something always comes up. Somebody always takes care of you. Something will happen. God will send somebody to look after you. Just to give you a small example of my own life. I was on the road. I had to drive from, I think it was Houston to Lake Charles when this happened. Lake Charles is in Louisiana, just on the border of Texas and Louisiana. And so the drive, if I remember right, was like three and a half hours. Anyway, I'm just driving along on the road, Sunday afternoon, trying to get up there for Mass. And I look down at the gas gauge, and I'm on empty. Uh-oh. So get over to a gas station. And this was a few years ago, so, and by the way, here in Oregon, you never get out of your car, right? Well, everywhere else, you pump your own gas. So I get out of the car, and I put the pump in and start pumping because it was just, this was a few years ago before every gas station was pay first. And I'm pumping the gas, and all of a sudden I start doing this. Where's my wallet? And I said, I must have put it in the car. So I'm digging through the car, and no wallet. And all of a sudden I'm like, oh no. And I turn, and I look, and $20 has already been pumped into the car. And I'm thinking, what am I going to do? And I'm thinking, maybe I'll talk to the gas station attendant and, I'll promise to pay him on my way back, or maybe he can let me do some work around here or something. I'm trying to think, what am I going to do? But I said to myself, I have to pray, and I'm in the car, and I was looking through some stuff and thinking maybe some money's in the car somewhere, but I'm praying and I'm saying, please, Lord, help me. I don't know what to do. I need $20. And I promise you, I am not making this story up. A woman comes walking up to me, and she taps me on the shoulder, and I turn around, and she hands me a $20 bill. And she says, would you please pray for my husband? Or I don't remember who she asked me to pray for. She said, my husband's going in for surgery or something. Please, Father, would you pray for him? And I said, sure. And she said, take this money. Thank you very much. And she walks away. I'm like, oh my goodness, I can't believe this. And it was the exact amount. And I just went and paid for the gas and left. I was like, that's incredible. But stuff like that will happen all the time if you trust in God. If you rely on him, he is going to send someone to take care of you. Obviously, He's not going to just let it rain $20 bills from heaven.